All right, this is Mr. Reyes here to show you that math is a skill that you can learn. So we're reviewing our area of a rectangle. Now, the question is how many squares can fit inside of here? Now we know we can just count. But what if there was a huge rectangle? We wouldn't want to just count. It would take us forever. So we have this method, and sometimes there aren't squares drawn in there conveniently. We have this method called area equals length times width. Some people say base times height. They really mean the same thing. So this would be the width would be left and right, and the length would be the height in this case. And the base would be kind of on the bottom, which we know because it's on the other side. It's the opposite side of a rectangle. We know that this is also 4 long. You could also just count the squares. And this is 5. So the base is the bottom part, and that's 4 times the height, which is 5. So doing that, we end up with 20 when we do 4 times 5. And we want to say 20 square units. A lot of times you don't want to just say 20 because if someone asks you, okay, how big is your house? And I say 100. And they're like, well, 100 what? 100 miles? That's the biggest house in the world. 100 inches? Well, that's a very small house. So using those units is important, though sometimes in your Google Forms worksheet, I will tell you not to use the units so that it can count it incorrect or correct based on just the number. But don't get used to that. Okay, so perimeter. A lot of people get perimeter mixed up with area, and they are not the same. If a problem asks for the perimeter and you do base times height, you will get it wrong. Okay? And vice versa. So perimeter is the sum of all sides. That means the sum, that's everything added together, all the sides added together. So you just need to figure out, okay, well, what are all the sides? Well, we already talked about on the other side of the rectangle is going to be the same. So the top same as bottom, left same as right. So now we just add these together. Okay, 11 plus 7, that makes 18. That plus 11 makes 29. That plus 7 is going to make 36. So we get 36. And we don't say square units because it's not counting how many squares are in there. We're counting just how long each one is. It's like how much fence you would need for your backyard. So we just say units, inches, miles, whatever. If you have a 11-mile long backyard, I'm a little jealous. So for a triangle, the formula is different for the area. The area is 1/2 of the base times height. So the reason for that is if we imagine that this is actually a rectangle, it's been lying to us and it's only showing half of it. So if we have that, then we'd know that the area would be 5 times 12, which is 60 square units. But this part is imagined. We're just imagining that it's a rectangle. It's not really a rectangle. So this part, we don't need to count this part, and that part is exactly half of it. So if we take away half, then we get 60 divided by 2 is 30 square units. Square units. That's a really bad way to write it. Because we imagined that there were 2 of these, and it made it easier to find the area. And then we have to realize, okay, well, there aren't actually 2 of them. So we need to divide it by 2. And if that doesn't make sense to you, just remember 1/2 base times height. 1/2 base times height for triangles. And then rectangles, just base times height. And that should hopefully help you if you're not much of a visualizer kind of person.